to Upstage Downstage with him, Richard Platt, seated in the upper circle.
And him, Stephen Rees, typically seated in the cheap seat.
This is the Theatre Podcast, where we discuss productions we've seen,
Things we've liked,
and may not have liked,
giving our complete unprofessional
and non-biased opinions.
So grab a brew,
Take a seat,
and let's raise that curtain.
On today's episode, we'll be discussing An Officer and a Gentleman. We saw this production at Stoke Regent Theatre on the 10th of May 2024. This musical is based on the 1982 film starring Richard Gere, has a book by Douglas Day Stewart and Charlene Cooper Cohen, and will be directed by Artistic Director of The Curve, Nikolai Foster, with choreography by Joanna Goodwin. So Richard, what's it all about?
Be part of the emotional journey of Zach Mayo, a fearless young officer candidate, and the captivating Paula Pokrivki, whose fiery spirit matches his own. Their encounters ignite a spark that transcends boundaries, awakening a passionate love that defies all odds.
But first, our post-show opinion!
This is not up where we belong.
This one definitely doesn't make it in the high ranks for me.
So with all that said, let's
Set the scene!
Okay, so we're here to discuss The Officer and a Gentleman. So shall we set the scene for this musical number of a play? It's a musical play.
Did you say off his hair and a gentle ham?
I'd rather watch that. So, okay, deviation. Let's set the scene for An Officer and a Gentleman, the musical. The setting was very much made up of metal bars and gateways, and everything seemed to be a bit like industrial, warehousey type things. It gave me the impression of Mrs. Igon that we saw at the Crucible,
And Billy Elliot. We saw
and
Lester
Billy
Curve.
Elliot. Yes,
And I saw... I suppose I saw is not a bad word. I think
I just got that. It wasn't I saw.
I think for me, I'm starting to see a bit of a pattern at the moment. We're starting to see quite a lot of use of exposed metal bars and exposed sets that are stripped back quite a lot,
like
see-through, and it's starting to become a bit of a theme that may be cheaper for a production company to use or make these productions out of. However, it's getting a bit samey. We're getting a lot of productions that are stripped back and almost
industrial, warehousey, sort of mesh walls,
like rehearsal space productions almost, and I think
yes, nothing can be as bad as the Crucible one.
No,
but anyway,
no, but I think there's a lot of productions that are just using this style of sort of staging, which is it's getting a bit repetitive now, and I think it just they need to come up with some other ideas to shake it up a bit, I think, now.
Yeah. Within the mesh walls of this cage staging flats that we have that are see-through was an outline of a fighter jet as well, out of what neon lights.
Neon light, yeah, it's LED
lights.
strips.
Yeah, there's like motel signages and palms,
bar signs.
Yeah,
and one thing you couldn't see from the side you were sitting is on stage left. There was also the sign of the bar on the left hand side with another entrance. So it mirrored each other, but there was different signage on different flats. But
the set resembled pretty much a typical box shape, with an LED lighting that went all the way around the caging. So that was your acting space, and just the lights pretty much hanging up above it,
and then lights in the distance from behind it to just give a bit of depth, really,
like stars, I suppose, into the night sky, because of the how the plane was angled, as if it was flying off.
Yeah, and I think what got me a bit with the plane, I think it'd have been better if that had been flown in from above, literally, because it didn't move, and it would have been better.
LEDs that move as if it's going somewhere?
I mean, dropped in from above and only used in certain scenes. So I think it just got a bit like it's just the outline of a plane now. It didn't signify anything because it was always there.
I think it was one of those design pieces that was to remind you that this is sort of the film, the Marines, like the Top Gun-esque Mavericks or whatever, they're going off in these fighter jets, going to war, basically.
Yeah. I think it just got used too much. That's all I mean. I just think it was there all the time, that it just could have maybe been brought in for certain scenes rather than just that one.
But it reminds me of A Beautiful Laundrette with the whole, when they did like the washing powder or neon lights just at the back and stuff like that. They've utilised it again.
Yeah.
Well, it's a different production company, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So it's just that kind of way of doing the set. Now, and another reason why I said it was slightly like Miss Saigon that we saw was because they did bring out a snooker table, didn't they? And they did. They did that, which was very indicative
and a jukebox and a bar.
Yeah, which was very similar in style of the first scene or the first act of Miss Saigon that they did with the army cadets in the bar.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I suppose there was maybe a glut of productions or films made in that era, in the 80s, that were all very centred around Army, Navy, war-type productions.
Do you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see Short Circuit come on there.
So would I.
Short Circuit, the musical.
Yeah.
Because in Nottingham, there's a guy who's actually done a full-blown replica of Johnny Five.
We need that. Yeah.
Just you can actually have them on stage.
Exactly. I know for me, Flight of the Navigator, the musical, that just as much, or Labyrinth, or let's go a bit.
It. Flood the theatre with water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why not?
Anyway, we're trying to entertain ourselves because overall this production was slightly boring.
Yeah.
For us all, I'm going to be upfront about it.
And we'll go into that. Definitely will. I suppose the other thing we've not mentioned is...
Well, we've only just started.
At the back of the set was in tubular steel again, was a staircase that went up to the middle part of the... there was a doorway in the actual... where the actual plane was. Where there was an entrance and exit at the top of the middle of the stage.
Sorry, I thought I'd already said about the stairs, but I don't think I did.
No, you didn't mention it.
I think I thought about it in my mind's eye.
And just to mention with that staircase, I think what got me a little bit is I've seen scenery changes being done a bit better than this. A little bit like we saw in Beautiful Laundrette. There was no real place to put the staircase when they weren't using it. It was put to one side or the other side, but it was like they couldn't take it off stage. Whereas in like Billy Elliot, there were specific areas to put things when they weren't being used. So when the house went right to the back of stage and screens came in and hid it, this just felt more like...
I think because they contained everything within that box, that's the thing. However, it didn't bother me because then I can just refer it to Titanic and then moving them bloody staircases about. That one got more
if we're going down that route.
So it's not as bad as Titanic. So, therefore...
True, there was some tunes in there. I mean, there was a storyline in this one.
Well, yeah. Yes, exactly. Now, we do mock, but it's all in good jest.
It is. I think when as well. I mean, you also compare it to those productions we've mentioned because they are movie to stage musicals, and you've got that link that you've got to look at it from that perspective sometimes.
And also, this was just a normal film.
Yeah, it was.
They've taken it and turned it into a musical using 80s music specifically to make it a show like this, where I don't know if it works. So if we're gonna branch off into the writing of it, we can't not talk about the music.
Of course not,
because the whole thing is about the music.
Shall we move on?
To the music. Yes, let's just go there. It's very jarring when you're watching a story, because I've never seen the film, and it goes into these musical numbers, which you know these musical numbers because the song's in their own right. But then when they try and put that music into the characters' feelings and what's going on, there's sometimes there's a bit of a disconnect. It felt like they only used that music because they could get the licensing from it sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was totally going to agree with that. I mean, for me, I felt like there was... you've got so many 80s songs and late 70s songs to refer to put in this production, and I feel like a lot of the ones that they used were the only ones they could get rights for. And you know, there was only really Up Where We Belong was the only one that was written for the film.
What's that?
Up Where We Belong was written for the original film, as in that was the sort of your key memorable song from the film. So obviously that was the final song. But then working back from that, like we said, I feel like they've just found some 80s songs to put in it. And this is where I struggled, because some of the lyrics didn't really make much sense towards the actual scenes they were in.
Yeah.
They were used because they were 80s songs, and there might have been a really weak link to what was happening on stage or within the film storyline and plot, but it didn't link properly enough. You know, I've seen some productions done a lot better than this, and a lot stronger than this. So, and I just think that, yeah, this just it lost it in that way.
See, for me, it's like, if we just branch out to Mamma Mia for a minute, that storyline came about by choosing songs which told the story or a story within the song lyrics themselves. So that's how we got the musical from that, derived from those songs. Whereas it's the other way around. This is a musical taking inspiration from the film and then jotting these songs which have completely different meanings sometimes within it, just to make it a musical.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're missing a lot of what the characters are going through and how they think, how they feel, just for a bog standard song.
Yeah, well, this is it. Yeah,
in the 80s.
And that's the whole point of this type of production. That I was going to say something.
Was it about them slowing the music down, changing the pace, changing the type of?
Oh, where do I start on that?
Yeah.
I mean, all I can say is some of the reorchestrations or reworkings of the songs just, for me, took the life out of some of them that were key power ballads in the 80s, or there were well-known songs.
I remember Heart of Glass. There was a scene where one of the guys was on the bed, the girl was singing about it up on the top, but then in the background there was another girl there. I didn't understand why she was there, like listening in. What was that about? Do you know what I mean?
I think she was pining for somebody else. It was like to say that there was the two strong women in the piece that had both got the same feelings, not about the same man, but they were just having a thought.
And I think this is what kind of annoyed me about this whole production, because I think I said to you in the interval, I don't know the film. I've come to see this as a show, as a piece of theatre, and I still don't understand the characters' relations. I don't understand the people's names, and I didn't realise that people were brothers, you know, a bit later on.
No, and I think...
are they brothers? Yes, they are.
I think and I think to add to that, I think some of the song choices were took real literal, as in Heart of Glass because, we're broken-hearted, or this because, we're going out on a night out, Material Girl, we're going to do Material Girl. But then we're going to have a skit to do the Marilyn Monroe bit, and it felt
it's a man's world whilst these women were working in a factory as well.
And those were the things for me that, I mean, I've just been looking at the... actual original soundtrack, because I was just going to refer it. Yes, Up Where We Belong was written for it, but I can't actually see any of the songs that were in it used in the production, which is really unusual, because if you're going to do it linked, you think they'd even reference some of the songs that were used in the production as background tracks. You know, you can bring those in.
Now, I don't know about you, Richard, but I felt whilst watching this, I had no idea what was going on with the plot. I didn't particularly care about the characters.
No.
I didn't know where this was going. I was pretty much like bored throughout. Now, the only thing that sort of kept me going was wondering, I know this song, what is it? And then remembering it. Now, listening to it, this is very similar to The Drifters.
Yeah.
Everybody in the audience, because it was the same place we went to see this at, was singing along to The Drifters.
Yeah, exactly.
But yet, they didn't have a clue. Well,
No.
It seems like they didn't have a clue as to what was going on in the storyline, and that's how we felt. Now, the people sat next to me, when I was talking to them, they don't particularly come to theatre much. They just liked the film. They said it was a really enjoyable production because they liked the films.
Yeah.
They liked the music, and I think that's what it was. It was just like a music concert of the 80s.
Yeah.
With a different way of putting it.
Yeah, exactly.
However, one of the comments was, with this whole production, it's like it was very morbid because everyone's dying.
Well, yeah, exactly.
On this one, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a particularly mixed review on this, but they enjoyed it for the music alone. Now, the music wasn't written for this production.
No.
So it should equally stand out for the other side when it's not being a musical and delivering a story.
Yeah, and I mean, I think as well, there was times where it was jarring when they broke into song, and some of the songs just didn't work.
And also, they only lasted for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, there was like we've got the rights for 30 seconds of the song, or have we only got? And then there was the bit where you could hear "Up Where We Belong" being played all the way through it, just to get you ready for the final bit. And it was like, I just felt like it was like pick some 80s songs on an 80s like remix album and just use like one of these albums where you've got back to the 80s and just use the ones that you've got on this album, and then. I don't know. I just think we're using the brand of the actual musical and the film to sell tickets because of what the film was.
Yeah.
And I don't want to discredit the cast because the cast were doing as good as they could with what material they got. And I think girls just want to have fun for going out, and it's like, oh, that's really literal. It's like, oh, we're gonna. But it wasn't done sillily or funnily. It
feels like this is a cheap musical. Let's just cobble it together and put it on tour.
Yeah.
There's not much creativity.
I mean, the only song that I'll pick out that I actually enjoyed and actually thought it fit was Toy Soldiers, because it actually fit the moment of the production. But other than that, all the others just seem to be cobbled together and thrown about, and just let's rework them slightly and make them sound off.
Yeah, and in the second act there was the one called Family Man, and that was after or during when the brother was going to kill himself.
Yeah,
because he was lured into wanting to marry his girlfriend because she told him that she was pregnant, and he wanted to jack it all in.
Yeah, exactly.
To be the family man. Yeah. And then she was only saying that
to keep him.
To keep him because she liked the idea of being married to an officer and going with the Corps and going abroad and stuff like that. So you never really got much from the character other than him or that song being sung. And on quite like a deep kind of plot point and a theme in that song in the play. It was quite a shock turnaround.
Yeah, exactly.
In the script there, in the narrative.
I think it's a really interesting thing we talk about, like movies made into musicals and things like that, because I think the more successful ones are the movies that have been written using well-known music, almost the other way around to that. So they're not directly related to a film, but they've been created from the music of an artist, really. Like you said with Mamma Mia, things like We Will Rock You. That's made of Queen songs, but it's the same principle as Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
There wasn't a film called We Will Rock You before it was made, but the music was twisted into a storyline that actually works really well. Rock of Ages the same. That's very much an 80s musical, but it's not a film prior to that. It's, and I think that's maybe where it works better, because it's been the songs have been woven into a production rather than they just try to fit something to a storyline. It's about.
So when you try and shoehorn in a song just to make it fit, that's when it doesn't work. When you focus on the story and you get things that naturally attach itself to it, that's when it works. So like when Chicago, for example, the stage play, stage musical that's got so many songs, but when it came to doing the film, they chose the songs which followed Roxy Hart.
Yeah, exactly.
It's from her point of view and her story, incidentally, which is why Class has been pulled out of the actual thing. So they chose specific songs to push the narrative and tell the story.
Yeah, exactly.
In a very good way. Like, and in ABBA's case, they've got so many songs to choose from. Enough for what, like, they're doing the third Mamma Mia now, but the original one, when it was a stage play to begin with, you know, they found a story within the songs that they chose for that song, for that musical. They didn't feature all of them and every single thing just to cram in there because they could.
I mean, interestingly, I've thinking about it, the only one that really sort of bucks the trend on this is Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, that was turned from a movie into a musical. That one does it seamlessly well because there's a lot of references to the music that they use in the musical already in that film. So when they do, because it's a performance-driven film in any way, when you're getting on stage or you're performing, and you know, when they do the "I Will Survive" bit in front of the Aboriginal people, they just do it in the musical. So it's already almost put in that zone. Whereas, and also Anne Juliet has written very much, you know, using songs that twist and turn into that musical. What was the other one I was going to talk about? That was it. By contrast, though, Dirty Dancing, that's actually a really cleverly done production. It's a similar 80s production. However, they don't profess or claim that to be a musical, the stage version of Dirty Dancing. However, they have a band on stage and they have live musicians and live singers singing the songs from the film in the musical, in the stage version. So it's definitely a play with music, but they reinforce the soundtrack by singing it live on top of the light hut that they're in. So the singers will stand above while the action's happening below, and they'll be singing the songs as part of the production rather than like this, where they were blending it into the main characters doing it. And I think that's where it works better if you're going to try and keep something within that time period. And that's, just think.
How did you feel on... what was your approach to this in terms of how it was directed? Because for me, I'll say now that I didn't think it was all that bad. I thought it was well directed, and the choreography was really well done.
The set pieces and the actual aesthetics of it, and it was all there for keeping with the 80s and the time period and the
for what
the
they
acting,
choose to
for
do
what,
with the production. It was really well done.
They got the main focus on the main characters as well, and I think that was good in how they did that. So you knew almost what was happening by the visuals in a way, and also the change from Zach Mayo from having hair to having a crew cut, even though it was a bit of a jump. We jumped scenes very quickly in that, which was very weird. But it still had that element of you're now in the Air Force. You've got to do this, that. I think it had all those elements, and
Yeah, there was a moment in this production that I felt was a little bit off in terms of the whole direction, was when all the guys were trying to just do the fitness test and trying to jump onto this 2-meter platform.
Yeah.
And this short character, the female character out of all of them, I have a feeling it was the Olivia Foster Brown character, the lady playing Casey Seagar. I think it was that, right? Only she could never reach, but by the end of it, to show that she's part of the men now, that she's
she's just as equal.
They did this surrealist thing where she ran up, and then all of them like lifted her up in slow motion and got a
Matrix moment.
Yeah, so she could stand up right on the platform. And I don't know. I could see where they were going with that one, to show and indicate that by working as a team and all the guys supporting her, that she managed to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas actually she didn't.
No.
It was like reality. You can see,
Yeah, exactly.
cheated, and then it's like, oh, I managed to do it. Yeah, because everyone lifted you up onto it. And I know it's supposed to be a stylistic thing. And,
It just almost
you
turned
can get away
into
with that
like-
with a musical. It's just one of them things that is just jarring because it's actually...
It turned into a
no.
modern dance piece rather than the. I think it just.
Well, you
It
can have a
took
little
away
bit
the
of,
grit. Of
yeah,
it.
but you can have a little bit of fantasy within the musical numbers, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
With how they do that. But with that particular scene, directorially, it just sort of like stood out. I knew exactly what they were going for, and I understood it. But it was just one of them scenes where it was like, nah, she didn't. She didn't get it there by herself.
No.
Because she couldn't. I don't think the actress could. But yeah. Anything else on the direction of it or the choreography? 'Cause I think I mentioned previously that in one of the situations where was it Luke Baker? He was getting dressed in the flat and they were singing.
You were paying attention then.
Yeah, no, but it was like that girl at the back. What was she doing there?
Yeah, we
Hanging
didn't
about.
feel detached enough for her not to be in the room. That was the problem, wasn't it? It was like it still looked like she was in the room, even though she was not meant to be. She
She was on those steps as well.
Yeah.
So.
And I think as well, there's.
Sorry,
Okay.
I'm just. There's a really weird moment where it's slightly laughable, and I've just thought about it because I was trying to think what else did they put on and off the stage. Well, they went to a fun fair, didn't they? And these two girls got into this bumper car.
Girls just want to have fun.
That was it, yeah. And they just it was so funny simply because it was just forced. Like when they were like being wheeled on, they were making sure that the back seat had the fake fur or something on it when they were just managed to get in there. And then they were doing that little moment, spinning it around, because there was two guys in these, like... they had those helmets on, didn't they? Like they were playing American football.
Yeah.
And then they moved off, and then the side of the staging opened up, and you could just see them like struggling to get this thing in through the door.
It's just the same as my other favourite scene, which I saw twice, was unfortunately Luke Baker didn't have a motorbike that had got any motor in it. He had to push it on and sit on it quick so it looked like it was moving across the stage, where he obviously didn't have much wing space to take a run up, so it looked like he'd sort of ridden in on it. He had to push it across stage, then sit on it. And it's like when you've got the sound of a motorcycle engine in the background and he's pushing it on, it doesn't give you the iconic moment of here's the man to save the day, or here's the strength of that person when he's pushing a motorbike on. The same as when he left the scene at the end where he rode off with the motorbike. He had to push it off to get it going and then sit on it. And it just takes away from that icon moment. It's like,
you sort of notice them more.
Don't
because
bother.
You sort of like click back into reality and you think, oh, you're pushing that, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think that, for me, yes, you've got to save money in certain places when you do theatre, and smoke and mirrors matter, so there's a lot of things you can get away with without actually spending a lot of money. But certain things could do with a little bit spending on the mechanisms of making that part of the scene work. So make the motorbike work, make the car work that they're sitting in. Those things are more, if you spend more money on that bit to make that work, those then become memorable moments rather than, oh God, he's pushing the bike on again, or he's trying to get off stage, so he's got to take a run up to get the bike off.
Imagine if it on the bumper cars you actually had it, so it was touching the electric on the roof or something, because it was in like a cage, and they actually used
pulled it across.
They physically drove it across.
Exactly. But it could have been something as simple as there's that, and I just think
electrify the whole cage.
If they'd have, exactly. But if they'd have thought about it a little bit more, it would have maybe lifted the characters more to feel like they've got the power of driving a motorbike when on and off stage rather than pushing it on.
Unless it was just like a health and safety thing where they couldn't have the motorbike literally on.
But you can get things like dollies where you can put like power, you can put electric motor at the bottom to make it push on and off and stuff enough to, you don't have to have anything more than that. So, we've seen it done in Panto with a lot of things.
You just sat on it and people pushed him in.
Yeah, exactly. Just to give a bit of oomph, really. So
yeah.
So anyway, but that's
those were the niggly things.
The niggly things
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a couple of times where I think when they had to opt out, where they didn't agree with the sergeant, and it's like, well, we weren't going to do this.
Oh, don't.
They kept ringing the bell.
Did they?
They kept ringing the bell.
Yeah, but did they ring the bell when the bell was rung? Because there was a few moments where he went to pull the cord and it didn't ring, and then it rang after the bell was rang.
Well, someone forgot to press a button.
If you can have a bell with the sound effect, make sure the sound crew are on it and ready for that bell to be rung, because it looked a bit off.
Oh, feels like we're slating this.
No, we've just seen. We've said the bits that worked and the bits that didn't.
I think it worked for those that were interested in it. For those with a bit more of a keen eye, we
But I think the thing is, I look at it as well as, would I want to watch it again, and did I enjoy it as a piece of theatre that elevates the film? Because I think that's sometimes the thing,
Yes.
You want it as strong as a film with that next level, and I think that's
it makes you come away being entertained and thinking about it at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Or thinking about it in a positive light and like, wow, that was good. You must go and see this. Whereas once we saw that, because in the interval, it was like, oh, God,
I mean, the thing is, I know this isn't a direct comparison, but you think Dreamgirls is a well-known film. You can watch the film and enjoy it on its own, but to see it done on stage,
we like that. That was a really.
But
good
if you do it right, you can pull it off on stage as well.
Yeah.
If you create that world, you go away going, I want to see it again when it comes around again.
Yeah.
Whereas this makes you go, it was nothing special. The film's better. The musical element didn't add anything.
It's not just that the film's better. There's other productions out there I would rather go and see
totally,
than waste money on this this cheap musical that they've just cobbled together with a couple of couple of songs rather than.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's also an example of when the formula doesn't always work. You can't just throw songs at a film to create a good musical. Sometimes,
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to make a musical out of everything and anything these days, aren't they?
I think restraint's important sometimes. There's times to say no, it don't work,
Yeah.
But then if the machine's running and you've already committed to everything else, and then
it's just a money-making machine,
yeah.
isn't it? Right. Moving on. Moving on to our next segment, as we say, we're here for the drama. We've moved on.
Oh, we're here, are we? We've arrived.
Yeah. We've just moved
ding,
into
ding.
another room. Yes. For here for the drama. There's a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm still struggling as to what to say about this one. Okay, let's just start with the costumes. I thought they were really good costumes. They all, I don't know if they were like made specifically for the cast, but they were all of the period, and they all looked striking in the white officer suits.
Yeah.
They all looked the part. So the whole costume and the aesthetics for that American 80s style Navy, Army, Marines type corps.
Yeah, and the
really
factory
good.
workers and all the elements were there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you did feel like it matched the film. It's like when they all arrived before they became cadets, they all looked very 80s and very, in the time period and everything. But yeah, like you say, there was nothing. It was nothing. It just fit that era,
Yeah. And in terms of the props, anything they had really, they just brought on and took off. There was, as we said, there was a huge set pieces like the motorbike or the bumper car, the snooker
Like the
table,
bar area.
Yeah. There wasn't anything like out of place or anything that we could comment on because it was all extremely good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good production technically, and
stagecraft was there.
Yeah, and with all the acting and the set pieces and the costumes and the props and everything.
And the scene changes were slick. Everything moved and happened as it needed to.
Yeah, it was all good. I think, mind you, we're not talking about the submarine.
No.
But anyway, I'll save all that for later. Have you got any shout-outs, or do you want to talk about the actors?
I mean, for me, it's hard to discredit a cast when you know they are
doing a job,
singing to the best of their abilities, and they were hitting the notes, even though some of the notes may not have been sounded right for the songs, because the way they'd rework some of the songs, it was a little bit jarring because it was different to what you're used to hearing when you'd listen to some of these 80s classics. But overall, they did a vocally great job. I mean, the main characters, were good. I mean, they performed well and they were believable.
Yeah. It's a hard one to talk about on this one because overall the acting quality was good.
Yeah,
it was high. They did
really
what they needed to do.
So you've got some good performers in there. You've got people that are seasoned actors. You know.
And Luke Baker, he takes the lead on this one as Zach Mayo.
Yeah.
That actually got a lot of laughs. Because they kept calling him Mayo. All the time.
Exactly. And that's that's just.
I didn't think it was particularly funny, but
people did. That's just the name of the production, isn't it?
Moving on to our next segment, as we say, what the tech is this?
Technical side, Richard. Is there anything you would like to discuss or comment about the technical aspect of this? I suppose I could ask you a question. With getting the pine trees and the plane specifically in like a neon lighting.
How did they do that?
Well, a lot of it is they'll have made a frame out of either plastic or metal, similar to the back of the actual stage where it's all tubular metal, and then they'll cover it in LED tape. And you can get like a diffuser that means that it hides the fact that there's just a row of LEDs. So you have a smoked screen over the top of it, so it actually just looks like a pure light. So there'd have been a lot of that done in this, and a lot of those tapes are now flexible. You can now get LED tape that's all LED, no individual LEDs, so it does look like a neon light now, but it's actually a multicoloured strip, so you can change and alter the colours to your heart's content. So there'd have been a lot of that work on each of these panels, which is, it harks back to the old neon era, but it's actually less energy using, and it looks striking, and it gives the same effect really. And I thought it was done well. I think it just could have been done maybe differently at different points.
Yeah.
Because the problem is it can become quite static then. You have to keep lighting up the same area. It doesn't move around the stage much. It just stays on one area because they didn't use it in different panels and bring different panels in with neons, which may have looked created a bit more depth than having them on fixed locations more than anything.
So, are you going to discuss like the lighting that was used?
An open stage production, and a lot of it was done with moving lights and a lot of set pieces by lighting up all the back walls around it into different colours to just almost hide the back walls at some points. There was lights built into like the bar area and things like that, so it created another zone, and the jukebox had lights in it. So I mean, it was overall it was good. I mean, sound effects wise, I would say there was a couple of moments where they could have worked harder on actually timing those sound effects right, because when as I mentioned earlier, the bells were being rang. The officer was shaking the bell and it wasn't ringing on cue. So there's a few moments like that. But overall, it was okay. I do think that something me and Stephen had both sides of the stage, because we both watched it from different sides. There was a couple of moments where the blend of audio was a little bit off, where you couldn't actually hear some of the dialogue.
Yeah,
we struggled to hear some of the actual spoken bits, maybe at the detriment of, because they needed to, the mics were being used for vocal parts where they were singing quite loud, so some of the actual spoken word parts were being lost.
Yeah.
That's something I noticed.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
Which doesn't help when your storyline is being rushed through and you can't.
Well, that's it. You need to follow the storyline. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I have nothing to say on the technical side of things, to be honest, because it's not really my domain. And now it's time for
Rewind, Rewatch.
Rewind, Rewatch. Richard, what would you like to watch again for an officer and a gentleman?
I'm clutching at straws, but it's going to be the toy soldiers bit, and that's probably the only bit I pick out, really, because the rest was, I'm saying no more. I've said it all.
Ooh. I don't want to see anything again. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to. I'm done. I didn't enjoy it. I like the songs, but there we go.
Moving on to our final segment, as we say,
Call this a show? To sum up, I would say for myself, I needed a little bit more characterization and story structure to follow the narrative. I believe there is a story in there, obviously, because of certain plot points and elements that were picked up throughout the play, such as like the only wanted to marry him because he was in the going to be an officer, but deceived him, and then he took his life. So there's that. I've not seen the film, so I'm assuming it's in the film. But fine if they had to use the 80s music, but I'd have preferred it had they have specifically written musical numbers that pushed the narrative along for it to be a musical, rather than just adding in any old song just because it's from the era. So that's my summary. It's not for me, but it might be for thee.
Yeah, or they.
Or they.
I think for me, my summary is there's a lot of work needing doing to make this actually a decent piece of a musical, really. I think that there's, even if you use the same songs, there needed more effort to rewrite some of the words and lyrics to fit what was actually happening on stage. It was too literal, and I just think the approach was off, really. I think it needs almost stepping back and rethinking, because there's something there. I just think that, like you said, it needs songs written for it, maybe with elements of other songs that you can hear, but I just think it's just a bit ill-conceived, really, as a production.
Scores then, please, Richard, for An Officer and a Gentleman. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being a gripping musical that's ready to fly, and 1 being a musical that shouldn't have taken off. What's it going to be?
I'll give it a 4.
And I am going to give it a 4 as well, actually. I think it deserves that. So, what sound effect will you be choosing from the following? A complete train wreck? Tumbleweed? An audible shrug of the shoulders? A slow clap? A pleasant applause? Or a standing ovation? What will it be?
A tumbleweed.
And it's tumbleweed from me as well. So there we are. That's our discussion of An Officer and a Gentleman, the musical. We hope you found it insightful.
If not, entertaining.
Stay tuned as we bring you more of our thoughts
And opinions.
on many theatrical delights in future episodes.
If you'd like to get in touch, email us at upstagedownsstagepod@gmail.com. You can always join in the chat to share with us your views of a production.
Also, make sure to follow, share, like and subscribe to all our channels so you get every episode the second it's released. And we hope you join us again for another instalment of
Upstage Downstage.
Be part of the emotional journey of Zach Mayo, a fearless young officer candidate, and the captivating Paula
I'm so glad I'm not going to do this because it'll be just horrendous.
And captivating. Sorry, let me do that bit again. Be part of the emotional journey.
Journey with the gelée.
Helene. Be part of the emotional journey of Zach. Why? Why?
Why?
Just
Why
why?
would you do Jack when it's Zach?
I don't know. Must have Jack on the mind. Hit the road, Jack.
Jack it in.
Jack it off.
Right, come on, otherwise it'll be tomorrow else.
Be part of the emotional journey of Zach Mayo, and that sounds like I'm making the point of saying it right.
Testing.
1,
1, 2, 3. Are you hearing me?
Alright, 80s power ballad.
So there we are. That's our discussion of.
You say it.
It's because it's highlighted.
It's not my fault. And put the musical on the end, because you want to say the whole thing.
So there we are. That's our discussion of An Officer and a Gentleman, the musical. We hope you found
You
it.
just said it like you didn't say it.
I like to insert it. Insert my authority. I've not got any authority. But what little I have left to give, I insert it.
This timeless story of love, courage, and redemption will make your heart soar and leave you breathless, longing for more.
Ooh.